Hello, everyone, and welcome to another month of the Astro-Tarot Deep Dive. I'm Millie, and I'm here with Susheela. We're here to talk about March 2024. I think it's important to, cover a little bit of how we're ending February because it says a lot about how we move into March. And I think one of the bigger events or more important events of ending March, of ending February, is that full moon in Virgo that has had some very physical manifestations of what is meant to be a priority, what we're really meant to kind of eliminate from our lives. And this is happening on the last weekend of February, right before we head into March. We have that full moon in Virgo, February 24th. It affects really that entire week of February 26th and into March. So we were just talking beforehand of some of the manifestations that we've noticed around us.
Yeah, and yeah, it's intense. People have been purging and clearing and felt very much in control of what it is that they want to keep and what they want to get rid of. And right now, it's like the carpet is being pulled out from under them. And there's a lot of like, why me? Why this? How is
Mhm.
this happening? I thought I was working on things. I thought the universe was supposed to support me. That in mind, the universe is supporting you. So if the universe is supporting you, the path of least resistance is then to let the thing go, let the thing
Right.
happen. If you're getting bumped and knocked and whatever, go with that flow, then go
Right.
away from the from that pain into the path of least resistance. And it might feel like you don't want that thing, or you really wanted the thing that was getting taken away from you, and like, that
Mhm.
surrender.
Mhm.
Really, really surrender.
Right. I mean, just in one week, just in the week leading up to the full moon, I I found out about three different people having broken or torn something in their lower extremities, either a leg or a ligament or an ankle. And it was, I mean, they have to either have surgery, be out for 4 to 8 weeks. It's a whole thing. And so we have to remember that whenever any of this, something like this happens, and also Uranus is so active. And when Uranus is active, it is the energy of expecting the unexpected, something abruptly ending, something abruptly happening that, changes the course or the pattern, interrupts the pattern of your life. That's
Mhm.
what Uranus's function is in the zodiac. It's the interruption of a known pattern. And all of this, what it's meant to do is kind of snap us out of things. What are we really focusing on? We talked last month about how much we were going to feel this Aquarian energy. And I think we are, because Aquarius is, I mean, every sign is great in its own, but when we look at just like the very raw expression of Aquarius, it's very unapologetic. It's co-ruled by Uranus, which is that element of the unexpected and abruptness. And it's very matter of fact. And again, before we were just chatting a little bit and we were mentioning how it was like,
Like the universe going, spit that out. Don't,
yeah,
yeah, drop that, drop it.
yeah.
Like, it's really, it is. It's abrupt, and I think, people might have had these romantic notions about this age of Aquarius and whatever, and it affects the collective, and the collective is all of a sudden going to be all lovey-dovey and all this stuff, but the collective is also the mob, like the mob mentality and the mass hysteria and all of those things. So what energy are you bringing forward
Mhm.
into that era, into that collective space?
Right.
It's not going to be all rainbows and unicorns and stuff without dropping all of this other stuff. And it's like we're walking into it with all of this. No, but I still want to bring, why won't you let me bring my, but I need my thing, and I did it. And the universe is smacking it out of your hands. It's like, but you can't have this if you bring all that with you.
Mm-hmm.
You might have convinced yourself that a lot of it isn't crap. And the universe is going, yeah, yeah, it is, actually. It is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how we're moving into March. Now, March is a dynamic month in itself. We have, obviously, we're headed towards the spring equinox, which is the beginning of Aries season. We are headed towards eclipse season, my favorite time of the year. Not the most comfortable time of the year, but it is always my favorite time of the year. We are going to start getting hints of the Mercury retrograde in Aries. That won't take place till April, but it's important to pay attention to the conversations we start having in March. So things are moving whether you want to or not. And for those who are in the position right now of something being taken away abruptly, this is your opportunity to be like, oh, okay, I need to stop with the BS, right? And it I think there's something to be grateful for when the universe does that. Because clearly the universe is saying, not there, because that's not where you're going to grow.
Hmm.
So we begin March 1st with the Sun in Pisces creating a sextile to Jupiter in Taurus. This is actually a great way to begin the month. In traditional astrology, any connection between Jupiter and the Sun, especially a very soft connection like a sextile, involves good luck. It's a day of good luck. Now, a sextile implies that there is action being taken so that we can align with that luck. So because a sextile is a soft aspect, I don't expect things to just kind of land on your lap. But if you are taking action, aligned action, um, this can actually be quite auspicious. And this lasts for at least another week after the first. Um, Now, let's say that, you're one of the people that experienced not a great experience with in February. This is the opportunity to say, look, I understand, I get the universe's message. I need to move in this direction. This is the sign that's telling you, yes, great. And I will assist you the whole way there. It's beautiful energy.
Well, I was telling you off air that I'm using a different deck today simply because all the other decks seem too pleasant. So I am using Guillermo del Toro's deck. And so just as a warning what these images might look like. We have the Hermit
Wow.
that day. And in this deck, it's really about, okay, there's that introspective factor, but there's also that seeking wisdom. And when you think about the hermit not relying on a whole lot of things outside of himself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The hermit is always depicted up on a hill, has minimal possessions,
Mm-hmm.
all of that kind of stuff. Like what are our attachments?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wherever we have those strongest attachments, that's the thing to let go of. That is the thing, a little sign, an alert of, the universe going, wow, you still have that thing. If you can feel like I can surrender to any change, anything coming and going, anything, the thing that I covet the most is going to be taken from me. Like questions to ask yourself, well, what if I don't get that thing that I really want? How will I feel? Will I still be okay?
Mm-hmm.
And if you go, no, I really want that thing, but I really want it. That's what I live for. You'd be like, well,
Mm-hmm.
okay, then I'll do this.
Mm-hmm.
Or, so it's when we look at him, he doesn't have any eyes. His eyes are in his hands. So it's, this feeling of using your other senses and connecting to the other stuff, connecting to the higher place, rising above everything. You're not going to get there kicking and screaming. You're not going to manifest stuff going, why? That, and I've said it before, and I should probably put on a t-shirt, but you don't manifest from a grumpy place.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Don't. That's not the place.
Right.
There's
Right.
no, I'm so grateful, but no,
Right.
it's like time to really drop it and grow up. Yeah, unfortunately.
There's right. There's something about this aspect that, again, because the sun and Jupiter are traditionally described as more like worldly, outward expression type of planets. I would say that because they're in the sign of Taurus and Pisces, it's this call inward to really enjoy the process.
Hmm.
Whatever process you are experiencing right now, and maybe enjoy is not the right word, but really being in it and appreciating Jupiter and Taurus, the abundance, the lessons, the prosperity that's actually coming from this experience right now.
Yep.
It is a call inward. And I just think that it's finally going to land for a lot of us, like, oh, this is what it means to be present. Oh, this is what it means to be like grateful for this moment.
Yep.
Uh, so huge shift in consciousness in that. March 3rd, we have Venus in Aquarius, square Uranus and Taurus. So just so you are all aware, we have had with the Sun, Mars, Mercury, and Venus all creating squares to Taurus. It's about 7 squares, one after the other, after the other. When we see a pattern like that in astrology, it's especially to Uranus, we're breaking away from something. We're breaking away from something, we're being liberated. There's interruption of a pattern, whether it's in relationships, habits, addictions, and all of those things mean relationship with ourselves, relationship with a belief system, addictions to whatever.
Mhm.
But it's something very ingrained. So Venus in Aquarius, square Uranus and Taurus, is this energy of breakthrough or breakup. So we're either having internal breakthroughs of, oh, this is the relationship that I want to have with myself in my life. And because Uranus is in Taurus, it's a much more grounded and genuine connection. And Venus in Aquarius implies that it's going to look differently from the outside in. Even to us, it's going, the relationship to people, our lives, our friendship circles, all of those things is going to change. And it's even going to look different to us, but especially to the external world. And what we're saying is, I no longer want to be put in this box.
Mhm. Well, we have the King of Wands in that position. And the King of Wands can be fake. He can be self-centered and fake and egotistical, um, on its lower vibration. And so everything that we do, we're being called to raise the vibration, raise the bar, is
Mhm.
because it's just, we wanted to not continue the way we lived.
Mhm.
What does that mean then?
Mhm.
It's like he's an old man in this deck. And so it's like he's the mature King of Wands. This is a very mature, I'm not all about my ego. I inspire other people. I'm passionate about things instead of just following my base instincts. Like
Mhm.
that lower vibration of the King of Wands too is like being led by lust. Whereas the mature King of Wands is like, let's channel that energy into a more inspirational, sacred place. I mean, that
Mhm.
might sound like a heavy frou-frou-y word, but it's like everything you do, and you talk about living in the present moment.
Mhm.
If you truly want to be happy, you have to stop postponing happiness.
Yeah.
And so this is all the positive things of the wands are are fiery and passionate and life force and creativity and intuition in the strongest masculine yang sense. And so it's great, but again, there's no more BS there. There's no more, the ego is looking at itself. And when you think about those two energies together with the hermit and that, the ego is looking at itself and going, ooh, cringe. Cringy, cringy. Oops. Yeah.
Oh, that's such a great, the ego is looking at itself, because I think that, you know, the breakup of this energy doesn't have to be with someone else. It can be the breakup of a part of our ego, right? That part of the ego that is looking at itself. Because this Venus in Aquarius square Uranus and Taurus, it's a mutual reception um connection, right? Because Uranus rules Aquarius and Venus rules Taurus, but they're in each other's signs. When we have a mutual reception, each planet is in each other's houses and they're communicating,
Yeah.
right? And so they're actually working really well together to a square, which is an aspect of tension. It's an, again, another unapologetic aspect, but
Mm,
squares are meant to catalyze change. And with so much Uranus Aquarius energy going on, it's whether you like it or not.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
You like it or not. Exactly.
yeah,
It's contentious, but it's not opposing.
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So on March 4th, we have Mercury in Pisces, sextile Uranus and Taurus. So while on one day we have Venus and Uranus creating commotion, Mercury in Pisces is the ability to, usually Mercury in Pisces is said to be in detriment, that Mercury doesn't like to be in Pisces, because Mercury is very literal. It's very much of our worldly reality, where Pisces is of the internal reality, the going deep beneath the surface. To me, and I think you mentioned it earlier, which is you have to be willing to trust. You have to be willing to look at what's happening underneath this
Mhm.
and understand that Uranus and Taurus, that abrupt change is happening for a much greater reason. That Mercury and Taurus, you cannot see right now. You cannot see the tangible results, understand the outcome even a few months out. But Mercury and Pisces is saying, go within, communicate with Spirit, Pisces. And you know, there, I think there is a knowing of why the things that are happening. And I think it's a very intuitive knowing.
Yeah, and we're starting this off with, this deck, all of the minor arcana, other than the aces, so from the twos to the 10, they're really boring, and you'll see one coming up. They're just whatever the, if it's a cup or a sword or whatever, and there's just the number of them on the card. There's no other things. But the characters and the people and the major arcana, which are archetypes, really. This is a heavy, we could say a heavy archetypal month
Mm-hmm.
when we look at the tarot, because most of what I'm looking at has people in it here on the table. And we're starting off with the Hermit, then the King of Wands, and then Death. And those energies are not, as you've mentioned, they're not just for a day, they continue. And so we're recording this on the 25th of February, so that full moon energy is really super present right now. And then we go into the Hermit and the King of Wands, and then Death. It's like, oh, like cycles, life cycles, soul cycles, people, the pattern of letting something go, and then I did it again, and I let it go, and I did it again. When is that point where you really go, okay, no, I'm really done now?
All right.
Like
Right.
I remember back in the old days when we had a telephone in the house, and it would be time to hang up with your friend. You'd be time to be like, okay, time to go. Okay, bye. Okay, goodbye. No, you say bye first. Okay, well, go count down and go 3, 2, 1. Okay, bye. It's like that feeling with your stuff, and you pick up the phone again. Oh, you're still there. No, hang up again, and like, no, really, like cut the cord,
Hmm.
what it feels like. And so this death card showing up there is like, yeah, Mercury in Pisces to me feels like communicating with the beyond in a way.
Yep.
So it's that communication in that dream space and the intuitive space and the in the weird alternate, alternate realm space, whatever that is for you, you know.
Right. I mean, and there's such a heavy, I mean, we are in Pisces season. Saturn is in Pisces, the sun is in Pisces, Mercury is in Pisces. Soon Venus will be there, Mars will be there. Every single personal planet is going to transit the last sign of the zodiac while we are experiencing an opening of Pluto in Aquarius. There is still something very significant and profound that is ending so that we could really step into this Aquarian era. And at the pace that it's happening at, it's no wonder that to me, people are breaking their legs because it's like, get it together,
Yeah,
right? Pay attention. And the whole purpose is you get to be what you envision, but not if you carry this stuff.
no,
You get to build what you envision, but not if you're distracted by this stuff. There
yeah.
is, it's a little bit of like it feels like a drill sergeant, like
Get in line. What are you doing over there?
exactly. I
Oh,
mean, yeah, it's quite a ride. Okay, March 8th, we have Mercury in Pisces conjunct Neptune in Pisces. Okay, so lots of things here. On the one hand, I would really advise like the first 10 days of March, if you can commit to like a 5 to 10 minute meditation every day, please do so. It would just the first 8 days, just there's something there for you. There's something there, even if it doesn't come up during the meditation. Meditation opens you up so that you can pick up on the other things that you would normally not pick up throughout your day, right? This Mercury and Pisces conjunct Neptune, extremely intuitive, great for creativity and kind of getting lost in your creativity and really bringing things forth. Um, Great day to speak to your therapist, your coach, your person, to bring things from the depths. Um, on the other hand, not a great day for communication. If you are finding that relationships are tumultuous and you want to have a conversation where you want to set someone straight and let them know exactly where you stand, this isn't the day. Because Mercury is the planet of communication underwater, under Pisces, and then Neptune in Pisces, it's a storm. So that logical mind is deeper in water. It's like wah 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 wah. Like you're not going to make sense. It's not going to be clear. If you are escaping, avoiding, running away from, there can be a tendency for this to increase, but with Aries season around the corner, with eclipses around the corner, it's going to catch up and it's going to burn with that much fire energy. There's such a call for free will here, and it will say a lot as to where you are in your process.
Yes. And so we have the card of, we would say, wishy-washiness
Mhm,
for that day. Keep
mhm.
in mind too that numbers and colors and sequences and the suits are all very significant. So we've got cups, which is a water, it's a water sign.
All
It's
the water, right.
these Scorpio, uh, Cancer energy, and it's a six. And, three cups are upright, three cups are upside down. The sixes are all about reciprocity in some way. The Six of Cups, again, is really about revisiting the past. And it can be dreamy and nostalgic and not quite the reality of it. It's like the remembering. It can be soulmates and twin flames, and it can be remembering your childhood, or remembering having, I know there's a word not in English, but there's one of those words that we don't have in English, that's
Mm,
feeling nostalgia for a place you've never been.
mhm,
There's that. It doesn't make sense. So there's
mm,
like a dreaminess and an emotional reciprocity that tends to not rely on other people.
mhm,
So it is a very nice card, and a very well balanced card, and a well balanced energy, I should say. But it's not exactly reality. Like,
mhm.
it's like treading water, but you're in your bathtub.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, it's not quite, it's not quite there,
You
We're not
yeah,
quite all there. Yeah.
you're just swimming. Yeah, you're just swimming. Okay. March 9th, we have Mars in Aquarius, square Uranus and Taurus, yet another square to Uranus. And on the same day, Mercury enters Aries, which is something that we want to start paying attention to because, as I mentioned earlier, Mercury will retrograde in Aries from April 1st to the 24th.
Mhm.
So, Mars in Aquarius, square Uranus and Taurus. This is aggressive energy. I mean, there's just no other way to put it. This is just aggressive energy. How you choose to use that aggression, assertion, forward movement is completely up to you. I would say with a Mercury and Pisces conjunct Neptune and Pisces the day before, and then Mercury and Aquarius square Uranus and Taurus the next day, really take it easy in your relationships if things aren't going well. Give
Mhm.
time and space because this can have you ever been in an argument with your significant other and you're both just yelling, but you're not having the same argument? Like you're each upset about
It's
that's
not.
what, yes. And then at the end, you're like, what? What are you saying? That's what this is. And it's not going to get anyone anywhere. Mercury in Aquarius is great to get unstuck. It's great unstuck energy. It's a great motivator, great leadership qualities, leadership type of tendencies. On the other, it's be mindful of when you're, driving, be mindful of movement, right? This is like kind of like minor accident type of thing. Mars and in motion, Uranus unexpected. Um, I think collectively, this is going to be an interesting time to see what happens around the world. Mars is the planet of war, and Uranus is the planet of the unexpected.
Yeah.
So, interesting stuff there. Mercury entering Aries is, yes, on the one hand, speaking your truth, no filter, not watching what you say. I think Mercury in Aries is going to be the opportunity for us to just get very honest with ourselves.
Mhm.
It's not a coincidence that later down the line, we have a Mercury retrograde in Aries where we have time to digest these big truths that we can no longer escape.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, that that famous scene of like, you can't handle the truth. Jack Nicholson. So
Right, right.
on one hand, we've got the universe pretending it's, your mama, and then the universe is Jack Nicholson
Mhm,
yelling at you in a courtroom. It's
mhm.
like we're craving these things, we want these things, we might be acting stupid and foolish, and one minute we're getting slapped upside the head with a slipper, and then the other one it's like straighten up, like all of this, and this heavy energy. There's a lot of, and I don't want to make it sound like it's heavy in a negative sense, but it's a lot. There's a lot of importance right from yesterday, the 24th of February, for that first part of March. It's important because if you're resisting it, it's going to be very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't resist it, no matter how painful it is, let it do its thing. It will be so much easier. So it's interesting that we've got a lot of cups, which you haven't seen yet, but we have got the first, the Six of Cups. And on this day, this is really strange. The 10 of Cups, then the Ace of Cups.
Oh, wow.
And this, of course, is like, a very morbid symbol compared to any other deck. The 10 of Cups is your maximum capacity for happiness. It's your Disney movie, happily ever after, a little bit of rose-colored glasses, like what we had the previous day with the Six of Cups, a little bit of this nostalgic fairy tale kind of vibe going into this 10 of Cups. And then we go backwards all the way to the 1. So there is that reset feeling of like, I don't think we get our 10 of Cups on that weekend, but it's like, remember that 10 of Cups that you think you wanted? Now you've got both, the smack in the head and you can't handle the truth. Re-envision your 10 of Cups. Like, what actually is the thing that will make you very happy? Say it, and then it's like the universe goes, no, wrong. You're like, okay, let me think again. Wait a minute. You like, okay, I have an answer. And you come out and you go, this. And then the universe says, well, okay, all right. And then it gives you the Ace of Cups. The Ace of Cups is opening your heart up to something. In this deck, it's like, it's red and it's bloody and it's death and all of that stuff. The Ace of Goblets. It's not what you thought it was. Opening your heart up means you're going to be in a vulnerable, completely exposed position. So do you really want it? Like, how badly do you want the thing that will actually give you your happily ever after?
Yep.
So finding the remedy for all of those things that are happening on that day, knock those delusional ideas out of your head. Boom, boom, boom. And then start over. And then go, okay, where am I not being truthful? Where am I not, like, it can be with yourself even. Probably for the most part it is with yourself. And then how do I open up to vulnerability? And like, not vulnerability where you're doing stupid things and you're putting yourself at risk or whatever, but there's a huge amount of risk involved in putting yourself out there for the thing that you want. Like, if you really want it, then you have to be this. And if you want to be this, then you can't do that.
Right.
And these are love and the happily ever after. So love and the happily ever after is nothing bad. But we're going to feel like, with everything that's come before, like the universe is like nudging you forward while kicking you in the ass, and then going, no, it's okay. Kick, kick, kick. No, it's okay. It's fine. It's not kick, kick, kick. It's fine.
Uranus and Taurus, I've seen it, or just Uranus, I've seen it just described a lot as coming out of your comfort zone. First of all, when Uranus is activated, it's not your choice to come out of your comfort zone. You're going to come out of your comfort zone. And a lot of times it's not just about trying something new, going to a new restaurant, trying a new hairstyle, which, by the way, with so much activation to Uranus, people will change their looks. But this is more about getting you out of the habits that keep you from the things that you want, which is exactly what you're saying. And the activation to Uranus is really trying to liberate us from a lot of habits, patterns, thoughts, actions that just don't serve us anymore.
Mhm. Well, it's like what you and I do, astrology and tarot. Imagine somebody books us for a convention full of people who don't believe in the tarot or astrology, and you have to give your presentation.
Right.
What we find out at the last minute, this is like they actually have a club called We Don't Believe in Tarot and Astrology, and they've booked us.
Yep.
That it's that kind of resistant. Well, how, whoa, like could it be more uncomfortable and feeling misaligned? Well,
Yes.
how do you enter that room? How do you go, like, how do you go with the flow? How do you be vulnerable in that environment?
Mhm.
You gotta, you have to show up. You got to do it. There's a really nice paycheck sitting there waiting for you if you complete this exercise.
Yeah.
Are they going to hit you with rotten tomatoes? Maybe not.
Maybe.
Hopefully not. It's a nice
Right.
fancy hotel. All right. Like, it's I found myself in this situation. How do I laugh? How do I enjoy it? How do I let it process? How do I just go, all right, here we go.
Mhm.
Front and personal, completely raw. Like, ah, let's
Mhm.
let's go.
Yeah, this type of energy reminds me of a quote by Dr. Wayne Dyer. He used to say, everything that is happening is supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
And I come back to that quote when I'm just like, why the is all of this happening? And it's like, oh, everything that is happening is supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
And it's not just not just to make me feel better, but as a reminder of, yes, that's true.
Mhm.
And I haven't been let down in the past, right? Um, okay, so this takes us to March 10th with the new moon in Pisces. New moon in Pisces and Mercury and Aries creating a sextile to Pluto in Aquarius. Both of these events happening at the same time. Massive, big, just as important as the eclipse, just as important as the equinox, because this new moon in Pisces opens up a 6-month energetic window to the full moon eclipse in Pisces that is going to take place on September 17th. That is going to be the first eclipse of the Virgo Pisces axis that is going to last through 2025 and 2026.
Mm.
New moon in Pisces, because it ends in an eclipse 6 months later, this is great energy to start something new that has the potential to grow exponentially. Okay. Mercury and Aries, sextile Pluto and Aquarius. This is the first time in our lives where we have a Mercury and Aquarius creating a sextile to Pluto and Aquarius. Mercury and Aries is, I think, I have a vision and I'm mustering up the courage to go towards that. And the sextile in Aquarius is the sextile to Pluto in Aquarius is this is a very powerful vision. This is a very new vision, out of the box. And out of the box, I mean out of the box for you. Maybe it's something that you've been thinking about that you're finally stepping into, right? So this day, this new moon, I would say anything leading up to or even a week, 10 days after this is great energy to begin something
Mhm.
because this has the potential for far longer than just a few weeks.
Mhm. Well, it's no wonder we have two major arcana cards for that. So the first aspect, we've got Temperance and the Chariot. Very interesting depiction in
Wow.
both cases. Yeah.
Mhm.
So let's look at this one first. I would say with Temperance, so I often say Temperance is like bringing things back into balance. It
Mhm.
is about patience. and bringing things back into balance. When I say bring things back into balance, a lot of people will assume they're envisioning a set of scales and they're bringing them back into balance. Oh, this equals this, it's balanced.
Mhm.
That is not going to be the energy at all. The energy of bringing things back into balance is you alone in a kayak after only just learned how to kayak 3 hours before. And somebody turns the tap on and that river is rushing like crazy, and you're like, oh my god, I'm out of balance, and then you're back in balance. I'm out of balance. It's like that is the feeling with the current energy. And yeah, again, they're a little on the morbid side, this deck, which is good. Keeps you in, keeps all of us in line. The Chariot, so we take that feeling of having patience. Also, it's angelic energy. Temperance is angelic energy. The Chariot is strong, forceful, forward movement. You
Mhm.
can't stop a freight train, that kind of thing. It's also about patience, because the speed, if it's going fast, like back to your earlier quote, whatever's happening is supposed to be happening. So if it's fast, it's meant to be fast. If it's slow, it's meant to be slow. There is nothing you can do to convince this creature that it should be any other way. So those two things together, very strong, very potent energy. Not much you can do but go, I feel thrown off. Okay, I don't feel thrown off. I feel thrown off. How do I? Okay, just be patient, just relax, just be calm. Channel the angelic energy, whatever that means to you, the higher vibration. Take
Mhm.
the high road, whatever. And some people will say, well, why do I always have to take the high road? Why do I always have to be patient? Why can't I just get what I want? Why do I have to be the one? Well, as opposed to what? Somebody else just doing all your work for you?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm really fascinated by the cards that are coming through. And I mean, those two cards, they feel so purposeful,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? Mhm.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
f-
They're uncomfortable also in this deck. Like they don't give you that warm, fuzzy feeling. Even the
right.
card is like a little bit like, oh.
Mhm. Right. So on March 11th, we have Venus leave the sign of Aquarius after a wild ride through Aquarius and enter the sign of Pisces. So Venus in Pisces is a lovely transit. Venus in Pisces really softens a lot of rough edges, which I think we will need for the rest of the month. Um, and Venus entering Pisces is what is my relationship to the divine, to my intuition, to my softness, to my faith. Um,
Mhm.
and Venus entering Pisces will give us a different relationship again to that intuition because Mercury's already there. I think this is going to help our body step into this place of acceptance with whatever is happening at the moment.
So we have a minor arcana card for this, and it's not going to look very spectacular at all by comparison. It is just the Four of Swords. Four
Mhm.
is our balanced energy.
Mhm.
It's self-care. It's the four corners of a bed. It's taking that time out, taking the time out maybe from communicating, keeping the voice, like keeping your words to yourself, relax, recuperate, have a nap, spend longer in bed, do other fun things in bed, whatever you want to do. It's that um downtime. It's allowing yourself the downtime to just pay attention to your where you've wounded yourself, how all of this, you should feel pretty bruised for the first 10 days of the month, emotionally, mentally, potentially physically, your ego, like a whole bunch of different ways. You might just feel like the whole month felt that, or I should say, the whole week felt like you're a human pincushion. So that day is just finally you can relax, you can breathe, you can let it go, you can go like, wait a minute, I'm actually okay. That wasn't, it was excruciating at the time, but I feel okay now.
Right. This, what you just explained reminds me of going through your tapping sessions. I've done tapping sessions with Susheela in a group and individually. And whatever has been moving through me has felt like I just went to the gym for, 2 hours and I'm absolutely beat up. I need to sleep for 10 hours. I'm sore in my joints. I feel like something is coming on. It really is a detox process. That's what it feels like. That week of the 11th, the 10th, the 11th, we are under the influence of that new moon in Pisces on the 10th and Venus entering Pisces on the 11th. That is that week where you can kind of, I would really suggest doing whatever it is that you can to take it as easeful as possible to allow things to land.
Mhm.
Because then we jump all the way to March 17th, which is a Sun-Neptune conjunction in Pisces. Remember, Mercury had a conjunction to Neptune in Pisces on March 8th, which was that lack of clarity, not, trusting more of the intuition. The Sun coming together with Neptune, to me, this feels like the understanding, oh, this is the part of my ego that's dissolving. It's the ultimate dissolution of ego. This is the part of my ego that's dissolving. This is what I'm meant to let go of, and I'm finally letting go of it. And there's a whole week that is leading up to that March 17th, which is from the new moon in Pisces all the way to March 17th, the Sun Neptune conjunction. I feel lots of endings in different ways in that period of time,
Mhm.
whether they're internal with parts of ourselves or external.
Mhm. So we actually have a really beautiful card as far as energy goes. The image, again, might still feel a little abrupt. The colors are softer also. They're more in this, the face and bones are red, but everything else is like a muted pink and gray and whatnot. So there's little wings in the background. It's the Queen of Pentacles. That is a very grounded, confident, not egotistical feminine energy. It is the energy of sitting back.
Mhm.
I am worthy. I am worth it. Not in a false way. It's in a re-evaluating. I'm doing this. I've cleared that. I'm working on that. I've taken a couple of humility pills in this column, and then sitting there and going, yeah, yes, I can do this. Yes, it's good. And that opens up. It's very much like going with the flow. So if you were riding those rapids in that kayak a minute ago and you actually make it to March 17th, you're sitting there going, that wasn't so bad. That wasn't so bad. I could do this every weekend. And and I might actually buy my own kayak. Like
Right.
it's that feeling of like surviving to sit in the place of comfort.
Mm, hmm hmm That's a great way of putting it. And I like that it's Pisces, right? Because I mean, on the one hand, Pisces can feel quite overwhelming, but on the other, when we lean into its softness, it's very kind and compassionate and forgiving, and the understanding that this entire process isn't about judgment, it's
Mhm.
about evolution.
Yeah, and it's even interesting that you say judgment because the card of the week that I had for this past week on Thursday coming through was the judgment card.
Mhm.
And the energy connected to that is not I don't feel that it's typical, but it's like we're almost going through an internal judgment.
Mhm,
Um, what a lot of people experience after they've passed on, that purgatory or the life review,
mhm.
that kind of judgment, and not the critical inner voice that poo-poos everything. It's really like, oh, wait a minute here. What am I doing? What did I sign up for? Because we've all been going, I did not sign up for this. And we're also going, yeah, we did sign up for this. What was I thinking
Right.
again? Why? Yeah. And that all of that clarity, I think, comes through not so much in an intellectual space or in a vocal space, but like really sitting in the body and knowing, like, in that Pisces energy being all 12 signs in one,
Mhm.
you sense everything. It's the last thing before we move into the new, before we move into spring, before we move into Aries, before we really move into the new era, before we really take the plunge. Like, all of that culmination feeling is there.
Right. Yeah. It's such a visceral experience right now. Such a visceral experience. So a few days later, on March 20th, we have the spring equinox, which is the beginning of Aries season. This is this to me because we go from season to season. So the spring equinox will go to the summer solstice in June, June 20th or 21st. These 3 months are about getting situated, like
Mm.
learning whatever is meant to come in March, April, and May. This is the opening of that. And from spring equinox to summer solstice, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere, it's about getting used to this new opening
Mhm.
because this new opening, this is a brand new opening with Pluto in Aquarius that feels very different than last year's Pluto in Aquarius. This is actually moving forward. And it's Aries season, so it wants to go fast.
Well, and having said that, I'm glad you reminded us about, it did dip in before. We did have that little taste of it. Can
Mhm.
you imagine if it just went direct into Aquarius back then,
I
and we
know.
didn't do all this stuff, agitation and slapped in the face and knocked down, and the world doing, and this changing, we would not at all be remotely prepared.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's been difficult, but we had that chance to go backwards a bit and review and reconfigure and dabble and taste and change and break apart and do all that stuff. So here we go with spring. Look at that. Look at how perfect that is. 3 wands. They're all budding, leaves are happening, new leaves, whatever. The 3 of wands is this planning for what's coming.
Mhm.
Not planning every detail. It's not like a control freak kind of card. It's not all of that. It's like, okay, now I get to plan with new information that I didn't have before.
Right. Right.
It's the 2 of wands is like the pre-planning kind of card, where it's like, I'm going to make a plan to do this.
Mhm.
Now you're in the phase of, I am actually beginning to plan phase 1 of this.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm. That just feels so appropriate because remember, anything happening in Aries, we are we're going to review. We're going to review through the month of April. But on March 21st, right the next day, we have Aries, the sun in Aries, sextile Pluto in Aquarius, and Venus come to a conjunction to Saturn in Pisces. Okay. Remember, we had Mercury in Aries sextile Pluto in Aquarius on March 10th. So on the 21st, we have a very strong echo. remember, on March 17th, with the Sun-Neptune conjunction in Pisces, there's a dissolution of the ego. There is a dissolving of a part of my ego in order for me to enter this Aries energy. And in order for me to enter this Aries season, kind of cleaned from that. This is this part of us that's emerging, creating a sextile to Pluto and Aquarius. And it's us really seeing ourselves on the other side of the part that dissolved during Pisces season. I don't know what other words to put to this, and I hope that it's coming through and that it makes sense, but this is us, I feel this is us finally really seeing ourselves as the thing or that vision that we've had for a long time and saying, oh, I'm finally really feeling like I'm stepping into that finally. So for some people, it might feel like I finally just feel confident in my skin, great in my body. I finally believe that I'm possible to aiming that high. I finally believe that I can actually make that kind of money, finally stepping into the shoes of something that we've been wanting.
Mm-hmm.
The Venus-Saturn conjunction in Pisces is Venus-Saturn conjunctions, I don't think are all that bad. I think they're interpreted usually in a negative sense. To me, this is measured. There's a sense of being measured with how we're moving forward. Venus and Pisces can be quite limitless.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, I believe in myself, so I'm just going to invest $20,000 in this new idea that I have. $20,000 that I don't have, right? Saturn there is saying, let's take this one step at a time. Let's commit to this newly found relationship to ourselves, this newly found sense of value, worth, Venus, but let's be mature about it. Saturn.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing how the energy, comes through the tarot because, as you know, I don't pick these cards. The cards pick themselves
Right.
of the day. And then I hear what you say, and I'm looking at the cards, and I'm like, she's not going to believe that we have the Sun, number 19, followed by the Star, number 17. And the Sun is typically ruled by Leo in the tarot, but it's also fire sign cards. So we have Aries, and then the Star is Aquarius. Okay, and they're again two majors, and they're going backwards. So we have 19, and then we have 17. We skipped over the moon. The moon is that. So when we're reading the tarot and we have sequences, pay attention also to the things that are not there. If you do a reading, you spread out all the cards and one particular suit is not represented there at all,
Mhm.
or sequential numbers and one is missing, or they're going in reverse and something is missing. So that's important. The moon is not there between the sun and the star. So the moon is this obscured, mystical, not really seeing the thing. We're in a period of the truth. So the sun is there, full light. We've got the little happy couple at the bottom and a bunch of other things that are very unique to this deck we won't even go into, but it's probably, if not the happiest card in the deck, one of the top three anyway. Everything the sun hits, it illuminates everything. It
Mhm.
makes things grow. It is life force. It is source. It's all of that stuff. And then we've got the star, which is optimism. So it's almost like the universe is saying, here's everything you could ever want, but I'm not going to give it to you. You've been planning and you've been working and you've been getting beat up and you've been breaking your legs, all that stuff.
Mhm.
I want you to stay focused and optimistic. It is also the card of literally like the star, the celebrity, the person in the spotlight, fame, fortune, all of that kind of thing. If that's not your thing, how does that relate to you, like on a very introspective, personal level?
Mhm.
Are you actually proud of yourself? Are you letting your light shine? Are you standing, basking in, the full radiance of what you've got going? So we
Mhm.
started off with the Hermit, and here we're coming to with like this is like a lot of bright light. I mean, the sun is a star as well, but these two things together on that day, it is super potent. There is nothing hidden. It is all there. You can have everything, all of it. You really can. You deserve it. You are full of it, not full of it.
Right.
Yeah, it's very nice energy to focus on or refocus on.
I think on a more practical interpretation of all of this, I think it's a great day for presentations, to show up in some way, to show off your expertise.
Yeah.
And both Aries and Aquarius are very unapologetic signs. They're very matter of fact. Like, this is what I know, and I'm showing you what, right?
Yeah.
Um, there is a detachment from any, I mean, I hate to just use this word simplicity, but from any negativity.
Mhm.
It's like, why? For what? So I love those cards. Those are great cards.
And what you're saying too, the negativity, these are not cards that are like rose-colored glasses kind of false positivity.
Mhm.
These are like you actually have things to be positive about. Go be positive about them.
Be positive about them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. On March 22nd, Mars enters the sign of Pisces. Another aspect where Mars is known to not be in a sign that it likes. I mean, I get it because the sign after Pisces is Aries, right? We start all over, which is Mars's home sign. So I think that this Mars in Pisces for several weeks, it involves the finishing up of things like, you know, tidying up things before we move on to the next thing. Um, it doesn't imply the new beginning just yet. It's kind of being led by intuition,
Mhm.
right? Taking action one thing at a time, one day at a time. Stop trying to rush the process. Things are not going to go any faster than they're going to go because Mars in Pisces feels like trying to drive a car uh, underwater or through water, a car that's not meant to be in water, right? So the best way sometimes is slow, sometimes with some assistance. But Mars in Pisces, it can feel frustrating if you're trying to go faster than you really need to.
Mhm. We have a really wild card for this one. Um, when you mentioned driving underwater or whatever, it's like those dreams that you have where you're in a car and you're pressing the gas pedal and it's like not moving, or you don't have the same control over the environment as you normally do. The card is another major hitting the reset button. We have the Fool. This is the fawn from Pan's Labyrinth. Not the typical, again, not the typical imagery that we would
Right.
have. He's setting forth on his little journey. It's a zero, it's not a number, it's a zero. The beginning hasn't happened yet. We've just hit the reset button.
Mhm.
Again, this might feel like a disturbing image because it's not so carefree and blissful, but it is that starting out on a journey or planning to start out on that journey. Okay, all of this other stuff, everything I ever knew before doesn't seem to be applicable, and yet I've learned some lessons. So I'm going to take the knowledge and go forward. There's not much there. There's a little, the little handkerchief on the end of his staff. That's all he's bringing with him. And
Right.
it's figurative. It doesn't mean that you're going to like lose everything and you have nothing to go forward. But at the same time, if those things were hindrances or encumbrances on what it is that you're trying to be, trying to do, trying to have, see, feel, then it gets left behind. It's that big reset button and wipe the slate clean. You get to reinvent yourself. You get to start over.
We have to, that Fool card reminds me of what you've been saying. Like you've been beat up a little bit. You're a little sore here. And it's the Fool like beginning after that.
Yes. He looks a little shell shocked there. Yeah. Yeah.
That's such a, yes, shell shocked. Oh, I'm laughing. It's not funny, but it is funny.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's the other part of it too. Like we're the you know what has been hitting the fan. Do we go through and go, oh my God, it's so horrible, it's so horrible, this is so horrible, everything's so horrible. It's hitting the fan again, and it's again, and now the fan isn't even working, and oh, and is it, do we do that, or we go, oh, it's hit the fan again? Well, isn't that hilarious?
Exactly. Exactly. My default is to laugh.
Yeah.
My default is to laugh.
A rubber suit might be in order, like, yeah.
And we have to remember Mars rules Aries. Mercury is going to retrograde in Aries. This is new.
Hmm.
It's, I really love that it's a zero, that it's a reset before the actual beginning. Okay, March 24th, Venus in Pisces sextile Jupiter in Taurus. Here is another mutual reception aspect. Lovely, lovely, soft, auspicious, intuition meets groundedness. What have I been learning? What are the downloads I've been receiving? What are the conversations I've been having? What is the research that I've been kind of getting lost in and having fun learning about? And how do I begin to create a plan to apply that in the long run? Venus rules Taurus, where Jupiter is, and Jupiter rules Pisces, where Taurus is, all the things.
Hmm.
A Venus connection to Jupiter speaks of money, prosperity, abundance. To me, this feels like the opportunity to elevate life quality or the quality of life in actually a monetary way.
Hmm.
It doesn't scream like lottery at all, but it's what am I, how can I plan this? Right? How do I, and look, this isn't like more is more. This can imply simplifying and minimizing so that what you do have, realizing I don't need that much, actually goes a farther way. So what we are, or how we are redefining prosperity, abundance, and richness, I think that over the next couple of years is going to be less is more.
Hmm.
Going to be happier, I think.
Yeah, and even in terms of understanding what abundance means,
Yeah.
not so much what something buys you, or I I earn this much money, or I have this much dollar amount of assets.
Mhm.
It's what you're left with, how you optimize your life, what quality of life you have, like what that definition of abundance. I'm able to do more, or travel, or give back, or have more free time, or somehow that definition changes in the physical tangible world, although not necessarily dollars.
Right,
So
right.
we have the Knight of Wands in this, where it's the sorry, not a Knight of Swords, which is a fast moving, clear cutting, um, vocal, um, direct, directed energy. So when we go back and we have things like Three of Wands planning something, and we have then all this clear thinking and the universe giving us the green light, and then the reset button, and then you're actually allowed to go forward. um it's it's a feeling of destiny, I would say, like being reacquainted or realigned with your destiny. um yeah, uh, it's that kind of feeling, because you might have been thrown off thinking like, I don't know anymore where I fit into this, and this night brings you to that place of like, oh, you're back on the you are on the right track, like the pathway unfolds in front of you again,
Mm-hmm.
and then you
Mm-hmm.
begin to realize like, oh, like again, back to your point, like everything happened the way it was supposed to happen.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think that there is a real understanding and recognition of just how valuable Venus and Jupiter, right? Um, on a more spiritual level, just how valuable all of our lessons have been,
Hmm.
and how we really needed to experience them to the degree that we have in order to be able to live in the world that we're living in today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was, we joke about this one meme that I received several years ago of where you it plays, I guess it was on Instagram, and it rotates through these things, and you take a screenshot and you
Mm.
read the message, and it said, when you think you've fully surrendered, surrender some more. And I was like, ah ha, ha. And I did it again. I did it 4 times before I actually listened to the message, because I was like, sent it to somebody else, is like, is this the only answer that comes up? And they were like, no, I got, this other thing. You were a lovely person. Please move on. And I kept getting, when you think you surrender, surrender some more. And then it had to keep, because I dismissed it. I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Second time,
Mhm.
da, 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 da. Third time, whatever, whatever. This thing must be broken. And then the fourth time, I was like, oh, oh, I see. Wasn't that clever?
Right,
Oh.
right.
And I think that's what we've been doing. Like the universe is going, yeah, don't forget to purge and clear and focus on that, and let go of all your attachments, and do the thing and take your vitamins, and don't forget to whatever. And you're like, yeah, 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 I know, yeah. And then ouch, that's uncomfortable. Why are you doing that? You're not paying attention. Yeah, yeah, I am. And then you go a little further, and it's like, ow, ow. It's like, well, what are you doing? I'm paying attention. No, really? Are you? Okay. Then it's like bam, 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 bam.
Mhm.
Okay. Oh, so that's what you meant.
Right,
Okay. Right. Okay. Okay. That's very different. Now I got it now. Thanks, universe. Like
right.
that's what we've been going through. And it's like it's brutal in some cases, I think. Really, really brutal.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And speaking especially of the last couple of months and the lessons that we've received, on March 25th, we have the first eclipse of the year, which is it's a lunar eclipse in the sign of Libra. So this is a full moon eclipse, which closes off a 6-month cycle that started with the solar eclipse in Libra of October 14th, 2023. Of course, we're talking about Libra. We have to touch on relationships. The South Node is transiting Libra. Um, this is every lunar eclipse, every full moon eclipse is the culmination of something that is just building up. So from October to now, there has been something building up about a relationship, maybe all of our relationships, just beginning to notice how they're shifting, how we may not feel so part of a group anymore. Oh, I don't really feel pulled or called in the way that I used to. Maybe there's a greater sense of self. There is also because it's a lunar eclipse, it's full moon, so there's a tendency for it to be emotional. There might be this feeling of, this is what I need in my life for it to actually feel balanced. This is what I need to accept. I think the lower expression of Libra is to think or feel that we need to change ourselves or change the components in a situation, because then that creates balance. When
Mhm.
essentially what we're doing in that case is manipulating.
Mhm.
The higher expression of Libra is, where am I now? Focusing on that and allowing everything else to be what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we have a very cool card that is exactly about relationships, exactly about reciprocity.
Right.
Uh, it's, I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It's
Oh,
the
wow.
Two of Cups. The Two of Cups. Either way, it's the same thing. Balanced energy. The Two of Cups can be partnerships, friendships, romantic relationships, sometimes relationship with the self, but generally not. It's
Mm,
generally something outside of the self where you finally feel that it's flowing. And that doesn't mean things have to be the same, they
mm,
just have to be balanced.
mhm,
And so I think a lot of people misinterpret that in their daily lives as well, thinking that when things are aligned, it means everything's the same.
mhm,
That's not what alignment means. This is that alignment of flow, of ebb and flow and things. It's very even, it's very lovely, it's very equitable, friendly, happy, light, pleasant. It's remembering all of those things. How do we create that? How do we harmonize? How do we actually work together?
mhm.
It's like a non, I shouldn't say it that way. I was going to say it's a non-confrontational energy, but that makes it sound like avoidance. It's not that. It's just not a confrontational energy.
Mm. Oh, that's such a great distinction to make. Because the lower expression of Libra is avoiding confrontation at all costs, while the higher expression understands that sometimes confrontation is required, or when it's not, it's because again, there's a self-possession, there's a strong sense of self, essentially.
Yeah, like do we improve when we avoid contentious issues?
Right.
Or do we improve when we respectfully address contentious issues?
Mhm. Right. Right. And finally, the last aspect of the month that we chose was of March 28th. And I think that the rest of the month it will be about processing that the opening of Aries season on the 20th and that lunar eclipse of the 25th. And so on March 28th, we have Venus and Pisces sextile Uranus and Taurus. So Venus, the ruler of the lunar eclipse in Libra, because Venus rules Libra, at the time, Venus is in Pisces. Venus is transiting the last sign of the zodiac. Lunar eclipses usually tend to represent significant endings in order for something new to begin. Venus, the ruler of that eclipse, is in the last sign of the zodiac, Pisces, which represents an ending. And the sextile to Uranus and Taurus is actually welcoming a new beginning that we don't really know exactly what it looks like. So this is like working at a job or a career for like 15 years and then branching out to a different field, but
Mhm.
taking those old skills, but into a new field. You know that you're going to use your skills, but the field is so new, you don't really know what to expect. Something significant is ending, you have that wisdom, and you don't really know what to expect, but I think there's an excitement. I think there's an acceptance at the very least.
So we have, I am not normally a fan of this particular card when it shows up.
Mhm.
Um, because the way I've seen it play out there is usually at its lower levels. It's more base instincts. It's uh, stagnant, negative kind of embodiment, you could say. This is the Queen of Wands, and so okay, we're in Aries season. It's fitting. If you remember, the second card we had was the King. So a couple of days in and a couple of days before the ending, we have this masculine and feminine of this fire sign.
Mhm.
And it's all the same things as the King, but it feels like a higher vibration of it. So it's feminine receptive instead of masculine active. So feminine receptive, creativity, inspiration, um, intuition, spirituality, all of these things, actually allowing them in instead of dictating how it should be. I'm allowing the stuff to come in. I'm letting the things flow to me. It's like less speaking, less thinking, less doing. It's like cycling in. It's like, oh, I can't be on all the time. I can't be off all the time. Now we're understanding that flow, and which is really interesting that the day before we have that very specific reciprocal energy of what fills our cup, how we fill other people's cups, how I fill my cup, and then that energy. This is a very highly evolved version of this card for whatever reason in this deck. It doesn't resort to it's mastered those energies.
Right.
It's not using them to manipulate. It's inspiring. It's
Mhm.
asking for inspiration. It's
Yeah.
not ego driven. It's, yeah, connecting to source.
That makes so much sense because during eclipse seasons, the ego is meant to take a step back and the soul really takes the wheel because eclipse seasons are times in which it's like final season, right? And we're moving really quickly through tests, right?
Mhm.
It's the soul's time to evolve. It's the soul's time to really jump those quantum timelines, right? And so the ego really doesn't have the capacity to keep up with that level and that pace of evolution. It just doesn't. So there, Venus and Pisces here is reminding us trust this ride, trust this ride. Um, and with that lunar eclipse on the 25th, I think it's really going to be made clear. This is going to be the beginning of maybe the following 4 to 6 weeks of where we see who's going to continue coming with us on that ride and not.
Yeah, we've let go of a lot coming
Mhm.
up to this point, and
Mhm.
I think more keep falling away, and
Right.
other things might show up, other people and situations, and as those things, when we think again about alignment, what is aligned, it's quite often, and I think it's a trend, it's not going to be what you think it is.
Mhm.
You never thought you would be doing that. You never thought that person would be helping you. You didn't know this thing existed. You didn't know those people existed. You didn't know that you could get money from that thing. Like, you know, yeah.
Yeah,
Exciting. Very exciting.
that's March for you. Uh, it's it's such a dynamic month. I think mid-month with all of that Pisces energy, we might feel like not much is happening externally, but there's a lot happening internally. Um, but it's the speeding up of the things or of the place that we've been wanting to get to, but not on our terms and not in the way that we thought,
Yeah, busting out of the cocoon and not knowing, like,
right?
all you've ever known is that you were this worm, and you have no idea what the butterfly is going to look like. Maybe you're a moth, maybe you're, whatever. You have no idea. You just know that you're in this process and you're about to bust out.
Yeah, yeah. So, I'd like to share that as of March 10th, I am starting a Substack subscription in which I'm going to be writing weekly horoscopes for each sign, to coincide uh, with this channel that you and I do monthly, but also with my new YouTube channel in which I go into things weekly. So
Mhm.
I love this because I feel like we're really giving people tools to kind of put their own stuff together to really become their own oracles and to be actively involved and aware of the energy that is at their disposal
Yeah.
instead of just listening and saying, well, let's see what happens. There is an element of that, and there's also a lot of action in awareness.
Yes.
So that's what's coming up, for those of you who are interested. You know, keep an eye out for that.
Yes. Awesome.
Uh-huh.
Very good. Oh my God. Our inner critic over here. All
Well,
right. Always a pleasure. And thanks to everybody who follows us and likes and subscribes and sends us lovely emails and all of those things. Keep
yes,
it going. Yeah. Have a good one.
I